Welcome back to the Baltimore Zoo. We've already explored 2 of their areas in order, and the third is the African Journey. I don't quite know when it opened, but I do know it formed in phases and renovations that started way back in the 60s and is still being transformed in the modern day. This 16-acre loop offers the best of both African worlds we're used to seeing, from kings of the savannah to the jewels of the jungle. Animals we've never seen on this channel. We'll cover its recent multi-million-dollar upgrade, and I highly recommend you stick around for the most adorable finale yet. Let's begin. But you need to first check out the award-winning Penguin Coast, since it is considered part of this journey. And after a look at the South African coast, the main path brings you to the swamps, possibly the African Journey's best exhibit, home to something we've yet to see, the Sitatunga, one of the world's only amphibious antelope. Confined to the marshes of Central Africa, they have unusually long hooves and flexible joints that help them move around soft, muddy ground. And to escape predators, they have no problem submerging themselves in deeper waters. Despite their lack of popularity, their classification says they're doing all right in the wild. But in the past decade, Maryland has had a pretty good track record of having a calf in this exhibit. What you're looking at are the females. The guys have their own space nearby, but since it wasn't easy to film, we'll say hello to their American flamingos. Why did they land in the wrong continent? No idea. But the zoo says they were already close by and needed a place to go. The boardwalk continues into the brush, and our next animal makes a little more sense, which is the sulcata tortoise. Big, slow, but a tough surviving native to the arid Sahara Desert. They and the leopard tortoises I didn't see neighbor the watering hole. At an acre and a half, it's been and remains the section's largest exhibit since 1992, featuring some of the journey's largest animals, like the ostrich, the plains or Grant's zebra, and the southern white rhinoceros. But it doesn't end with them. And if you follow the water, it's connected to an equally impressive grassy field, a haven for saddle-billed storks, lesser kudu, and the Adra or Dama gazelle, also fit for the Sahara Desert, where water is hard to come by, and they can stay hydrated through long periods of drought just by ingesting the water from the plants they normally eat. Now going back a bit, tucked in the center of the watering hole's viewing is a walk-through aviary, one of the most diverse I've ever seen, exhibiting birds found all around the continent in its woodlands, wetlands, and savannas, like African spoonbills, wall-drap ibises, the Hadada ibis, hammerkops, the beautiful blue-bellied roller, the cute pygmy goose, the Vanderdecken hornbill, and a few more that are listed below. Now near the gazelles is the leopard lair, formerly home to an African leopard, but construction was being done to display an Amur leopard. So we'll be moving on to another spotted cat, in this case cheetahs, that didn't show either, but what did lives right next door. The Cape porcupine, Africa's largest rodent that usually only comes out at night to forage, equipped with long claws used to dig up roots, and long stiletto-like quills when raised make them look twice as big to intimidate and fend off predators. The path briefly takes you away from the action to a couple of hidden gems. Digging in the dirt are warthogs, but as much as I'd like to talk about them, I'm more interested in giving the spotlight to another animal new to our screens, the Kirks Dik-Dik, a miniature antelope so nice they named it twice. Actually, they got their name from the female's alarm call, which warns their friends or other larger animals that they're about to be eaten. However, the male's call sounds like a toy with a broken squeaker. Most antelope live in herds that are sometimes in the hundreds, but not these scrubland dwellers. They'll find that special someone and mate for life. And when they breed, they'll kick out their offspring from their territory after about 7 months to usually make way for the next baby. And if you haven't noticed, they're probably smaller than your dog. Fully grown, they only get to be about 8 foot tall and weigh up to just 16 pounds. As of a couple years ago, only 15 North American zoos have them, so hopefully we'll catch them again later. And if you don't see them here, it's because they rotate with another pocket-sized antelope, the blue duiker. Next up is the Big Three, settled on a slope that just got a $20 million facelift. And the first to get it was their lions. Not much change to their exhibit within, but the zoo replaced the outer moat with a guest-accessible cul-de-sac. They added a keeper-to-creature interaction station and a mesh fence to give this a much more open feel, so it's easier for Zuri and Hassan to watch the reticulated giraffes. As far as the history books say, they may have been the first animals in this area, which was over 50 years ago. And while this isn't the best of its kind I've come across, it certainly made the biggest impression. You have your usual feeding station, you have a public indoor section that we weren't allowed to enter, but it's all built on a slope. And with the cul-de-sac, this is the first giraffe exhibit we've seen where you can walk nearly around the entire thing. While this side was slightly shrunk after all the changes, their original space was expanded forward by 33%. I also read that they will eventually stroll into the upper savanna habitat, also known as the primary space for their African bush elephants. As the final part of these upgrades, they turned this lot, once for their camel ride station and Penguin Rock, into a single 34,000 square foot expansion exhibit that doubled the current outdoor space, which still exists. There's a middle yard and a smaller one off to the left that were built in the mid-80s. The zoo is home to 2 males, 2 females, one nearing their 50s, and a Maryland-born that just reached their teens. In its nearly century-and-a-half history, the zoo has only successfully bred one of these giants. But because of this new development, that might change in the near future. They still have some work to do, but this upper savanna is certainly a dramatic improvement. From here, the plains becomes the forest. Appropriately in the shade behind the giraffes is the Ocapi, an elusive browser of the tropics, infamously mistaken as a zebra for obvious reasons, and on a later video I'll teach you what those stripes mean, but they're also famously known for being the only living relative of the giraffe. But not like their taller cousins, they are the furthest thing from social, and for the most part do not seek any companionship. The jungle goes on towards the east for us to meet the Lemur Lane, where 4 primates that we'll see later rotate around these 3 old-fashioned cages thanks to overhead tunnels, not only connecting them, but to a building that's relatively nowhere near here. How? Well, with the help of the recently added Colobus Trail. A 12-foot high suspended, nearly 350-foot-long mesh wire tunnel that was obviously inspired by Philadelphia's Zoo 360, though personally I've never seen a zoo go to these lengths when it comes to transferring animals exhibit to exhibit. And that brings us to 1995's Chimpanzee Forest. Today, the only indoor part of our journey where the transfer chutes continue along the ceiling, which also leads outside to the Lemur Lane. Though generally a place for primates, there's also a terrarium for the Panamanian golden frogs, another non-African native, though I was told there's no other public spot for them. There's also 3 bedrooms for the previously mentioned primates. The first we spotted was a black and white colobus. The middle permanently displays an ape we'll see later, and a decorated third for red-ruffed and ring-tailed lemurs, with the Cockerel's Shifaka, another lemur distinguishable by the way they move. They maintain an upright posture and leap rather than crawl through the treetops, and when on the floor, they spring and hop sideways to cover their distance. The last animal in here comes from the aquatic world, but the glare made it hard to spot their slender, snouted crocodile. If you've stuck around this far, hopefully you won't mind seeing just one more thing. After all, they do make for a perfect finale. The zoo's chimpanzees. We've seen it before, and we'll see them again. So what I really want to talk about is the babies. A mother's pregnancy will last nearly 8 months, before giving birth to one helpless infant with a cute pink face and white tufts of fur on their backside that disappears with age. Like us, they develop slowly. Their grasping power isn't strong enough to hold on to their mother, so for roughly 5 months, they have to be carried on her front side. But not long after, they'll start to ride on her back. It isn't until they turn 2 or 3 when they start to venture off and explore more independently, but they never go more than 20 feet away from their mom. In the last couple years, this troop of now 15 welcomed 2 girls into the world. And though I don't have the footage to show you, a third newborn female from the Oklahoma City Zoo, who wasn't exactly getting the proper care from her own mother, was transferred here to find a surrogate. And last I heard, introductions to her new family are going well. And that finishes this loop. I hope you enjoyed one of the more atypical African adventures that are out there, and that means 3 exhibits down and just 1 more to go at the Maryland Zoo. Stay tuned, and as always, thank you for watching.